world said, these games are to Olympic standards. You look at the 31 venues that Alan Vanson had to run, 31 venues across this province, from Minden to Welland. The look, the feel, the security, everything worked fabulously. Over 1 million tickets were sold. Over 1 million tickets, biggest event ever. And people responded with enthusiasm and generosity. Attendance at the various events was over 2.25 million. I'm talking about Panamabian, I'm talking about all of the cultural events. There are 35 days of animation of culture at Nathan Phillips Square, at Pan Am Park, and the Distillery District, and other areas. And you saw the best of Canadian artists. And you saw us showing our soul to the world. And so you can say that it was a great success. And those that predicted security problems, let me just say, there wasn't one security problem. There was. No, that's not true. Before the game started, somebody found a little hole in the fence, and it took 4 days of media to find that little hole in the fence, and it blown into epic proportions. Other than that, not one security problem. And if you're at the games, you just look at the behavior of our police forces, the municipal force. They were part of the face of Toronto. They did a fabulous job. They were happy. They were part of it. They were friendly guides. That's policing at its best. They were not standing there just being fierce and scaring people. They were part of the face of this great country that puts forward and welcomes the world to our country in a safe way. And I think Chief Saunders and others deserve a great deal of credit for what they have done. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just conclude by addressing the elephant in the room, which is the Olympic bid. Should we or shouldn't we? I can tell you this is an extremely controversial subject. I've never seen a subject outside of some political debates and some religious debates that garners more strong opinions. Some of it informed, some of it are not. And this is not a debate the mayor asked for. This just came about because the Pan Am Games were such a success. I remind you, it's already been turned down once. But now there's this head of steam coming on saying, good God, we were good at this. Should we go ahead and take it up a notch for the Olympics? And let me tell you, this is fraught with horrible politics. You can imagine the mayor and the council, Norm, you're listening to this, has to make a decision on this in the next 5 days, at least to open the door. You understand that they face an election in about 3 years, and the anti-voices will be very, very loud in 3 years, what could come along to derail the vision. And you understand that the vast majority of them will not be here in 2024 to enjoy the fruits of that. Norm Kelly will, nobody else will be here. So he's been here since 1904, so he's going to be here. I was in student politics with Norm Kelly at Western. I'm not going to tell you when, but a long time ago. But it's a question that elicits very, very, very strong opinions. And you ask, and for some reason, Montreal is indelibly seared into people's minds. Montreal was 1976, but everybody remembers and used that as an example of public spending. And they don't remember Vancouver, that came in on time and under budget. Calgary was a great, stunning success. These Pan Ams, which are bigger than all of them, were an outstanding success. So if you want to find negative examples, you can use Sochi, or you can use Montreal. But do not be burdened by the past in your thinking on these things. I can tell you it is much, much easier politically not to bid on these games. There's an old adage that Norm Kelly understands: dogs don't bark at parked cars. But if the political leadership decides to go ahead, there are 2 points I'd like to make that I'd like to share with them. The Olympics is not an end in itself. It is only a means to an end. And the mayor is absolutely right to ask the most important questions. Will it help people? Will it benefit people? Will it build a better city? Will it advance our agenda, transportation? And that's probably our biggest, most complex problem in the city. Will it advance waterfront development? Will it advance housing? Will it detract or reduce resources that we should be committed to other areas? Will it bring people together? And will it advance our human objectives in this city? Those are the right questions to ask, and they have to satisfy themselves. And if the Olympic bid and achieving the Olympics does not achieve those ends, it is not worth doing. Number two, the only advice I would give is you need a big vision to pull off something like the Pan Ams or the Olympics. And you have to believe in it passionately, because I can tell you there will be bumps in the road, and there will be rough spots, and there'll be lots of critics. Everyone will ask the question how it advances their own agenda. And the Olympic bid has to win over that person who's looking out their front window at a pothole and say, how will an Olympic bid fill my pothole? Or how will it ease congestion? And how will Olympics drive the change that people want? And then, of course, you have to go to the question, can we afford it? And the cost of Olympics depends on the size of the vision. You can have a very narrow vision, and you can have a broader vision if you want to use the Olympics to accomplish a lot of other social and planning purposes. But that has to be articulated by our political leadership with the visions they have and the future that they have for this great city. I want to make one important point that's rarely made, and I think rarely understood. Anytime you hear a figure for the games, you will hear a figure that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, whatever that figure is. But this cost would be spread over 7 years. It's not a one-off expenditure in 1 year. That cost would be shared with the private sector, because it attracts huge investment, as well as the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. So if you take that cost, whatever it is, as a percentage of the total infrastructure budgets, you will find it is not a significant figure. That is often lost in the debate on the costs of these kinds of games. Well, what are the odds of winning? 5 days to decide. Mayor and council have to make the decision. At least they have to open the door. They have to send a letter to the IOC with the signature of the president of the COC, Marcel, who's here, as well as the mayor, John Tory, saying we want to open the door, as well as a $150,000 deposit. Then the work starts, if they decide to open that door. They can always close that door. They can always close it if they come to the conclusion that they can't pull off the vision, or if they don't have the vision. But people tell me in the know, and we had many, many international visitors here this summer, because of that we have a very, very favorable position to win. Because of the stunning success of the Pan Ams, the venues, the wonderful organization, the volunteers, the outstanding response from the communities, the unparalleled cooperation of all levels of government. Many facilities in the Pan Ams can be used for the Olympics. Don't get the impression you have to build all new stuff. You don't, because we have a lot of great facilities. We have the best time zone. The Eastern Standard is the best commercial time zone in the world to stage games. And it is probably, although this is not an absolute rule, North America's turn to host the games. And Canada's brand is very, very, very welcomed in the world, because we represent the best of the world, and everybody knows that the world needs more of Canada, not less of Canada. Let me tell you the greatest compliment I got on these games. I was walking out of the opening ceremony, and I hope some of you saw it on television who were there, and I walked out with a chief from Quebec. He was French-speaking, he was an Aboriginal chief, and we walked out together. I said, Chief, what'd you think of it? He said, That was a beautiful story, beautiful, beautiful ceremony. I said, why? He said, because you told everybody's story. Think about it. We told everybody's story. Everybody felt included in that event, and I think in the entire Games. So let me not be naive in conclusion. This is not without huge risks. You could easily lose. Criticism could drown out all the other positive aspects because the negative noises tend to be louder than the positive noises. We live in a free and democratic society, and everybody has a right to their point of view. And bad things can happen, especially if you're looking for them. And I can tell you, there is no guarantees. And the question is it worth the risk? Well, in conclusion, let me just say, the mayor and the council will make a decision in the next few days. I do know this about life, and this is my own personal conclusion, that it's a lot easier to do nothing than it is to do something. There are no critics if you're doing nothing. But I do know that cities, provinces, countries, as with individuals, are better when they aspire, when they have big dreams, and when they reach. And we in Canada are good at dreaming, planning, building, and executing ambitious ideas. We have proven that. It will be up to the people of this region to decide where this new, renewed confidence can take us. 2015 Games may be over, but the impact, the legacy, and the transformation are really just beginning.
Premier Peterson, thank you for the comments, and again, congratulations to you and the team who are all here on a fantastic, fantastic Pan Am Games. Really enjoyed it. The elephant in the room is indeed the Olympics. We all know the bid is due next week. And building on the momentum we have right now, and I guess what you're suggesting is we need to sort of strike now, in a sense, while the iron is hot. We've got great facilities, momentum, brand, etc. What exactly is the holdup with writing a check for $150,000 to open that door next week? And what role are you playing with the experience you have now to persuade the council and the mayor of the fact we should be pursuing this great ambition and vision and, you know, making it a reality in 2024?
Senator, what am I doing? Look, I consider I've given blood, but then I have lots more blood to give, which isn't, it's obvious from my remarks. I think we should reach for this. Personally, I have no influence on this decision whatsoever, and I do think I understand the politics from the point of view of the mayor and the council. But I can tell you there are a lot of critics out there. I read it all, and some highly uninformed and influential critics out there that will come to bring their points to view, as they have every right to do. I'm not trying to shut off discussion. My own opinion is there is no official group right now. There's no organizing committee. Marcel has been very vocal about, and he understands the international politics of the sportsmen better than anybody in this country, and he has many, many friends. He lives in Quebec City, not in Toronto. He speaks for the Canadian athletes and has done a great job with the Olympic Committee. But he can't speak for Toronto. Toronto has to speak for itself, and that's through the voice of the mayor with the help of the other levels of government. I think if you think it is worthwhile, and you ask Norm Kelly, this is not easy. He'll be hearing both sides of this, as I would assume. And some people feel passionately the other way about it. I think if you feel it's worthwhile, fire off an email to the mayor and say, look, Mayor, I understand you have a tough decision to make. If you decide to do it, I'm there with you. And by the way, if the Olympics come along, it will involve thousands of people, not just a few. This isn't an elite enterprise. This isn't an elite undertaking. It's going to involve all the corporate leadership. It's going to involve the social leadership, all the sports leadership, the mums and dads, and eventually that 11-year-old kid who tells their mom, take me to the Olympics, and I'm going to get up early and I'm going to work a little harder today so I can run in that race. That's what mums and dads, at least that's what guys like me when I was a dad like to hear. You know, so this is for all of us. It's not for just a few of us.